You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network. And welcome into our first Sabres Semantics live post-game show here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in, obviously live on our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, smash that bell, stay updated with all of our video coverage here on the network. And thank you to those that are listening the next day when it comes out on your favorite on-demand audio podcast platform. Brandon Caputo joined by Austin Broad of Elite Prospects. We're going to break down this entertaining Sabres 4-3 loss in overtime to the Tampa Bay Lightning here on this Tuesday night, a late start, and obviously the game ran late. We're going to get into the game stats, scoring summary. I might add in Lindy Russ post-game, post-edit in this. We're not going to go over it right now because it's already been too late of a night for my guest. Austin, appreciate you being able to stay on. It's an after-hours edition here on the show, and it made it even longer with it going to overtime, but definitely one that didn't lack the storylines tonight.
Yeah, I mean, second half of back-to-back, first game against Tampa, first in the division, team 3 more times now after tonight. Big game, fun game, entertaining, obviously. Not the finish you wanted. Even the overtime felt like there was a couple of actual chances the game would end, but not really. Like, even it was up and down, but it didn't really seem like any of the chances actually connected until that last one there by Gensel. Obviously, the Sabres are going to want the finish to this game back, but all in all, for the second half of a back-to-back, especially after the emotional win yesterday against Florida, not a bad performance at all. I think most Sabres fans would be happy with a point, despite the way that it transpired the last couple minutes of the game in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Sabres have actually played quite well on the latter half of the back-to-backs, and this one's really tough going down to the Sunshine State there against Florida and Tampa, two of the better teams that you'd have to face in the Atlantic Division. So, again, thank you to our show sponsor, Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in our 3 great Niagara region locations, Niagara Falls, Fun Hill, and Scott Street in St. Catharines, for their continued support of the Sabres Semantics show here on the network. Austin, let's get things started here with the game stats tonight. As always, brought to you by J&L Flooring. If you think you get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack. Check them out at jnlflooring.com or visit their Niagara Falls location to begin your quality flooring project today. I'm going to pull it up on the YouTube screen for you guys obviously watching live, and for you guys listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. I will read those off for you guys here as I'm just adjusting the screen. There we go. So as far as the game stats go, 35-26 in favor of the Lightning shots on net. Face-off percentage 50.8% to 49.2, which was a big improvement from the Sabres last game against Florida in that department. Tampa was 1 for 2 on the power play. Buffalo was 1 for 3. We get into some of the stuff like that: block shots, hits, takeaways, giveaways. Austin, what stands out to you there? I know in the second period, Buffalo went without a shot for a long stretch of that period, but what are your general takeaways from looking at the game stats tonight?
You cut out there for a bit, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I did? Okay.
Yeah.
I said, what stood out to you from the game stats tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty common. The theme for the Sabres this year is just when you give away the puck 22 times, especially when it's your veterans and the guys you kind of lean on that were those giveaways, right? First goal directly off a Dahlin giveaway. Couple of times you'd see guys like Zucker, Tage, McLeod try and force these passes that there was no need to force. And they ended up going back the other way. And the giveaways are kind of what kills the Sabres. When they're sloppy like this is when they lose. And when they're not giving the puck away, which we've seen them do quite regularly, they pretty responsible with the puck. That's when they win. So to me, that's probably what stands out. Sabres are used to getting outshot, especially when you're playing a team like Tampa on the second half of the back-to-back. I think you're going to expect them to kind of jump on you early, and that's basically kind of what happened. Second periods lately seem to be an issue for the Sabres just in terms of letting the other team kind of control the pace. And then third period and overtime, Buffalo was much more even there. But yeah, when you're getting the shots necessarily aren't that concerning, but when you're giving the puck away and those giveaways are leading to quality shots against, that's kind of a problem. And that's basically kind of what happened to the Sabres, and that's part of the reason why they came out short tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at that second period, and they had that a really good opportunity, but it didn't end up going on the net. I think it was the redirection in the second period. But when you look at it, they went through after the Samuelson goal, like they went a long stretch without getting a shot. Like it was one of those games where you're watching it and it was high. It was back and forth. It was a good pace game. We saw in the first period there was a stretch. I think it was 6 or 7 minutes of game time where there was not a whistle. So there was no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah, that's kind of the theme with the Sabres. And one thing about the Sabres especially is they're not a high quantity shot team. They're just not. But usually, and tonight they obviously had some really high danger chances too. They just obviously ran into a really good goalie. Still were able to get 3 past him. But the Sabres rely more on creating quality shots than quantity of shots. And that is one thing. I think they said on the broadcast the Sabres have 22 wins when being outshot this year, second most in the league. That's because they do get outshot quite a lot, but in terms of shot quality, it's usually pretty even. Obviously, the Sabres have bad games here and there. Every team does over an 82-game season, but that's why for like people who are going to harp on the shot totals, that's just something we see with the Sabres pretty much, not every night, but pretty regularly.
Right, and when you talk about this team and it's tough because you look at a game like this, and again, we're gonna dissect how the season's gone here once we hit the Olympic break. This is more so just talking about this game itself because I know Austin wants to take a broader look, pun intended, on what's gone on here the last month or so with where this team is in the standings. And when you look at it, I know Norris is out of the lineup. Benson wasn't in the lineup tonight. Like, would anything stand out to you there, like as far as how the lineup was constructed tonight when you're missing some guys? I know Tampa Bay, they're missing Cirelli, they're missing Point, they're missing Nick Paul. So some big centers for them as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they didn't have any injuries either. But, what was your thought on how it was structured tonight?
Yeah, the only thing really notable about the lineup is, I mean, Krebs going up to the top line, but that seems to be, he's the guy that kind of steps up when they need him to. The only really thing notable to me, and I didn't really hear Lindy say anything about it pregame, because he kind of ruled out Benson and Norris pretty early on in the day. Kesselring was a little bit interesting. Don't know if that's a load management type of thing. We know he's not 100%. So that's one thing I thought was pretty evident. But honestly, Metza and Bryson, in the limited minutes that they do get to play, like tonight and in pretty much every other time that they're together, they're usually solid. Not trusted to play a whole lot of time. Obviously, without Kesselring there, the top 4 kind of has to bear the load. And that's what happened again tonight. And like I said, when you have a couple sloppy plays by, Dahlin, even on the power play goal by Bjorkstrand, he was able to find a soft spot in the front of the net between Power and Samuelson. And that's kind of one thing that you can't have happen. So it's just when the top 4 is stressed the way that they are, you're going to see these mental mistakes happen on occasion. And tonight they really did burn the Sabres. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Kesselring on Thursday, but I'm going to assume that was more load management than anything. But until we hear from Lindy, it's just purely speculation, obviously.
Right. So we'll move forward here with our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in the Niagara region since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. Quickly going over the scoring summary, got it up on YouTube for you guys listening. I'll read it off. Obviously, we had the opening goal from Nikita Kucherov, Austin. That one was just very unlucky because they had pointed out on the broadcast Dahlin's stick had broken, and then I believe it was Zucker that gave him his stick. Obviously, you give the defenseman the stick in that situation. Then Dahlin ended up getting the puck, on a loose play. I think Power was trying to get it out of the zone, and it went off of somebody. Ended up coming to Dahlin with a wrong stick, and he whiffed on it. Goes right to Gensel, touch pass to Kucherov, and it's in the back of your net.
Yeah, like I said, unlucky, however you want to spin it. It is just a backbreaking turnover there. It led to a goal against. And again, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't the problem, but it was kind of just a greater theme of the night is a couple times the Sabres just weren't sharp, whether it be getting the puck out or defensively, and it bit them. That was one of those goals. Thankfully, Buffalo obviously last two games, not slow starts, but the last two games getting scored on first, which is something the Sabres really aren't used to. They were able to battle back, but yeah, it's just a tough one all around. Whether it's a bad break or not, it just sucks to see the puck getting turned over to that top line on Tampa because they're going to make you pay.
Yeah, and then we had the Sabres tie in the game, and Mattias Samuelsson, man, what else can you say about this guy? I know the jokes are going around. I saw a good one tonight on Twitter about, these are the three faces of the NHL. It showed, I think, Makar, McDavid, and then it showed Mattias Samuelsson. I mean, obviously that's a joke, but at the same time, I mean, what a career year this guy's had. And when he signed that contract a few years ago, that long extension, we were wondering, was that really going to be a buyout type of contract in a couple of years? But now it's looking like a bargain right now because him and Dahlin have been playing so well together. But that just, that forecheck to be able to get the puck back, and then Samuelsson just wristing it from a sharp angle underneath Vasilevsky, one of those just sort of tricky shots that catches a multiple time, Conn Smythe winner, and a Vezina Trophy winner, under his arm there. But just, Samuelsson just continues to be, one of the main reasons why Buffalo is playing so well right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the shooting bender of his lifetime because he's never scored at the rate that he scored at. And with that goal, I mean, he ended up with two, obviously, on the night. But with that goal, joined Dahlin and Byram to now have three Sabres defensemen with double-digit goals, which is pretty impressive.
Right, and it was 1-1 at that point. We get to the third period there, and Samuelsson gets his second goal of the game to give the Sabres the 2-1 lead. No scoring in the second period. He walked down Broadway and just wristed one glove side on Vasilevsky, excuse me. After there was a play in the Sabres end where Ellis had to make like a sprawling save. Ryan McLeod ends up with the puck, finds Samuelsson, and he just goes in there and beats Vasilevsky clean for his 11th goal of the season, second of the game, and gives Buffalo a big lead at the time.
Yeah, like I said, Ellis solid, great pass by McLeod to hit Samuelsson streaking up the middle, and Samuelsson, using his skating, which is something he has been able to do pretty much his whole career, but now like the points are coming for him to jump that lane and just walk down Broadway and get a high danger shot like that, beating Vasilevsky clean. Obviously, a high danger shot like that you expect to go in, but when you're a guy like Samuelsson shooting on a guy like Vasilevsky, it's unfair to expect those to happen. But that was just a great all around goal.
And then we had, late in that. Well, actually, excuse me, I forgot to write down the Doan goal. That was a great play. We had the Bjorkstrand power play goal from Tampa Bay right before that. Where they were able to get the lead there, or excuse me, to tie the game. So to even it up 2-2. Josh Doan, I want to skip to that goal because, what a play that was by Thompson. The power play was just expiring for Buffalo there. I think it had like 2 seconds left on it.
Yeah.
He just throws one at the net. I know exactly what he was trying to do there, try to find Doan's stick. There was some confusion whether or not maybe it went off his skate, but clearly on the replay, it went off his stick. Just got great positioning inside there on the defender on Tampa Bay, right in the blue paint, right in the crease, and is able to deflect that one. And what a timely goal for Josh Doan, 18th goal of the year. What can you say about this guy? He continues to just, go to those types of areas to get those kinds of goals. And he's beloved, in that room and by Sabres fans for the way that he plays.
Yeah. I mean, to get positional advantage there and to be able to still get a stick on the puck with McDonough pretty much all over his back. Obviously great play by Tage to find him backdoor there because that was in a tight space to fit that puck in, and he was able to fit it in perfectly. So really big timely goal, gave the Sabres the lead, with pretty much 5 minutes left. It was really looking up for the Sabres, and unfortunately they weren't able to close it out, but nonetheless, that's a huge goal to pretty much like that helped secure them the point that they desperately needed today.
Yeah, they definitely did. And then we had that last minute scramble there. Tampa has the goaltender pulled, obviously, for the 6-on-5, and the puck comes out to Darren Radish, who continues to also be a very good feel good story for Tampa Bay, filling in for Victor Hedman while he's been out of the lineup, and it's only a second game back, and he just fires a bullet one time, or a slap shot past Colton Ellis with traffic in front, and that one hurt. Obviously, under 30 seconds left, you're trying to secure those 2 points, and especially with the way it ended. But did anything catch your eye there in the last minute of maybe the Sabres could have done something different?
No, I mean, nothing different. I think they kind of played it well. Obviously, being able to clear the puck out would be key there, but a couple deflections that ended up pretty much helping secure Tampa Bay, keeping that puck in. And then obviously when the puck goes to Kucherov on the half wall with a man advantage, he's going to be able to set up something. And Radish's ability to fire the puck, like I think after that goal, the broadcast showed he leads the league with 90+ mile an hour shots, and it's not even close. I think he's 30 up on the next defenseman closest to him, next person closest to him. So unlucky break, unlucky bounce, but it's just one of those things where you have to secure that point. You have to secure the win when you have that there. Like when you're up with 25 seconds left, it's a killer not to get the win. But when you look at the macro of it, the back half of the back-to-back, this being against Tampa Bay, you're happy with the point, but it really sucks that you weren't able to close that out.
Yeah, the way it ends, right? Like if you would have came in and said before the game you would have got a point against Tampa Bay here, you would have probably taken it. But the way that the game played out, and you played so well, you had the lead with under 30 seconds left. Tampa Bay's got a bunch of these guys out of the lineup. This was a time that they were ripe to be beaten, right? Like they seemed pretty banged up going into the Olympic break, and you thought that you could take a real big 2 points in the Atlantic Division, and you had it in your grasp. And obviously, they tie it late, and then Gensel, that play late in overtime as well. Kucherov just turns around in his own end, from behind his own net, finds Gensel kind of cherry picking up there near the red line, gets the breakaway, beats Ellis. It's an unfortunate play, and the way overtime sort of worked out. It was an entertaining overtime. Usually is 3-on-3.
Yep.
Sabres had a couple of chances, but that's the way it ends with Kucherov finding Gensel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, if you really watch back that replay, no reason for Krebs not to just follow Gensel. I kind of understand what he was thinking. It looked like when Kucherov whiffed on the first pass attempt, it looked like Dahlin was able to force a turnover, so Krebs was kind of just being aggressive. But with 15 seconds left in overtime, just play conservative.
You got to know where the guy is at that point.
You got to have some awareness, and that's, nothing against Krebs. He was the hero of the night before. Without Peyton Krebs, the Sabres do not beat the Florida Panthers the other night. But that one there was tough for him. Like I said, I understand kind of what the thought process was there. It was the wrong thought process. But at the end of the day, like I said, walking away with a point there against Tampa Bay was big. Sucked that you didn't get the second. Sucked that a couple mental mistakes is kind of what cost the Sabres here. But on the second half of a back-to-back, they're not forgivable because you can't make these mental mistakes, but they're understandable. Guys are tired. Guys have been, I mean, in that overtime alone, it was Krebs' first shift of the overtime because Krebs isn't normally an overtime guy. So I get it. It sucks, but at the end of the day, you walking out of there with a point is a good thing, despite the fact that you're gonna feel like this was a letdown, which might be good for the Sabres because they still have one more game before the break.
Yeah, they got Pittsburgh coming up at home on Thursday, which will be a big one. But 3 games in this week, leading into the Olympic break, and then after the Olympic break, they're going to face Florida and Tampa again. So yep. It's going to be an interesting, schedule here for them, and a big one as well. Like you look at sort of how things have gone for them as of late, and I'm going to pull up the standings real quick, the updated standings. And again, this was from 20 minutes ago, so it might have changed since then, but. Obviously, you have Tampa at the top of the Eastern Conference. Buffalo right now sitting 4th with that 70th point that they earned tonight. So they're sitting 3rd place in the Atlantic Division, tied with the Montreal Canadiens, but they technically are ahead of Montreal. So, hitting the Olympic break, I mean, we'll kind of talk about it when we get to our overview of how things have gone in a broader spectrum. But talking about this game tonight and where that puts them in the Eastern Conference, you got to be pretty pleased with where they're at, considering where they were, just about 2.5 months ago.
Oh yeah, I mean, you kidding me? 70 points through 56 games, chance to get to 72 before the Olympic break. No, yeah, you have to be happy with where the Sabres are. The season's been a little bit weird. Started out not great, got a little bit better, became disastrous. Then you go on this huge tear that they've been on. So it's not really a question anymore on if the Sabres are good. It's just if they're going to be good enough to get this done because it seems like every night the scoreboard just does not go the Sabres' way. Like, you know, they get a little bit of help here and there, but when the East is as dominant as it is, like every team except the Rangers is above 500 in terms of points percentage. Right now, the Sabres would be first in the Pacific by like 4 points. I think Vegas is either at 64 or 66. So it's just not a lot to complain about. One more game, it's not like a must win, obviously, but it feels like every game pretty much at this point. You're starting to see a little bit of separation, but you're banking on a lull here and there. So bank points while you can, and want to go into that Olympic break on a stretch. But like I said, in a weird way, because this kind of felt like a little bit of a letdown, letting a point slip away from you. Hopefully, that gives the Sabres motivation. Coming off this game.
So since we don't have our post game with the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, Lindy Ruff, because of how late it was, I'm going to change the segment today for the post game here. We're going to do our post game poll brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's what the fans had to say, Austin. Put this poll up immediately after the game ended. How would you describe tonight's Sabres game in Tampa, falling 4-3 in overtime, nail-biting game against the Atlantic Division leaders? Great game, unlucky end. Good game, got a point. Need to close that one out, or bad, lucky to get to OT. At this time, obviously this poll is still going, but for the show's sake, good game, got a point is at 38.9%. Need to close that one out is second at 36.1%, and great game, unlucky end at 25%.
Yeah, I mean, really good game, got a point, and need to close that one out don't have to be mutually exclusive because I think the correct answer is both of those. It's a good game, you got a point, but you desperately, you needed to find a way to close that out. Thankfully, with what we've seen from the Sabres this year, since, the GM change and the way that things have been rolling, this is a team that does not let things snowball anymore. At least they haven't up until this point. So this shouldn't really do anything. This should be viewed as a positive. They got a point against one of the best teams in the NHL. I know they're, down some people. Sabres are down. If you count Benson and Norris, they're down 2 of their top 6. Tampa Bay is also down a ton. So give Tampa credit. This is why they're, one of the modern day dynasties that we've seen. They're always competitive. But Buffalo fought hard. And I know, people are going to be like, well, the shots kind of are a little lopsided. Like I said earlier, don't look at the shot counts. That's not exactly what the Sabres do. So hard fought. Obviously, like I said, it's going to leave a bitter taste in your mouth. But as fans, coming away with a point and getting that 70th point is a really big deal because, you have so many regulation wins. You're ahead of Montreal there. You got games in hand on teams like Boston and Washington. So every point matters.
So we'll get to the end of it here with our stick tap of the game, brought to you by Butt Ends Hockey Stick Grips, specifically for the top end of the stick, designed to replace traditional cloth tape. Check them out at Butt Ends with a Z.com and use our referral code Armchair GM to get 10% off your order as part of our community. Engineered for greatness. Butt Ends, the #1 grip in hockey. Austin, who is your stick tap going to tonight?
I'm gonna go not the obvious one because I think obviously the obvious answer is Matthias Samuelsson. I'm gonna give Colton Ellis a lot of credit for this game. Kept him in early, and made some in true Colton Ellis fashion. The game was purely chaotic, and it's never doesn't look easy when he's in the net. But he was very, very solid tonight, and a big reason why Buffalo was able to get a 3-2 lead at one point, and a big reason why this game did not get away from them early. So I'll give Colton Ellis a stick tap.
Yeah, I think obviously we would say Matthias Samuelsson was the Sabres player of the game. Also, for statistics wise, Dahlin had 7 shots on net tonight. Thompson had 5. Although neither of them, they both got 1 assist, but neither of them scored in this game. I guess a guy that has been playing better lately is Jack Quinn. He was a guy that we talked about a couple of months ago, or maybe even a month ago, that he really needed to step up his game. And I think, he's been on that top power play unit. He's playing on the second line there. Found some nice chemistry there with McLeod. He just seems like he's more engaged in the play. He's trying to find other ways to be available, not just shooting the puck. So I've noticed Jack Quinn a lot as of late, and I think that he's, because we were critical of him earlier in the year. I think he's definitely starting to be more of a complete player that they need him to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna add to that because I have a different opinion of Jack Quinn. But
Let's hear it.
I mean, he's just terrible. He's scoring points, but if you look at the rest of his game, he's not playing well. And this is coming from someone who is Jack Quinn's biggest supporter. Had a nice assist, obviously, on that game, but there was so many plays that just died on his stick. I thought he got tripped on that one play where he just fell and lost the puck. He didn't. He just fell on his own. That was in overtime. That was a big moment. Terrible might have been a little too harsh, but it's just,
yeah.
Outside of the points, I need more from Jack Quinn, and I still think that Jack Quinn is a player that Buffalo should look to upgrade on. Maybe not necessarily this year, but going forward, because I genuinely, offensively, he's fine. He's
right.
producing, but
and that's sort of what he is, right?
When you're pairing him with McLeod, you need a little bit of defense, and Quinn is just chaos on ice for the good and bad.
Right.
He's a player that I think, again, is I have no use for him I don't have use for a lot of players on the power play, but I don't have use for Jack Quinn on the power play.
Well, I think he's taking the spot of Josh Norris, right? Like, I think Norris.
Yeah, I'd throw Ostlund or Hellenius or literally anybody else out there, because Jack Quinn is approaching Jeff Skinner power play territory, where it's just when he's on the ice with the man advantage, he just does not know what to do with the puck. Granted, the Sabres power play is a whole nother discussion, but I'll give Quinn the credit offensively, but he's just a player that I'm growing tired of as each game goes by.
Okay. What about Owen Power?
Owen Power's playing a lot better. Last couple games, we've seen the points. Again, today, a couple mental lapses, but those mental lapses are going to be there. Again, if we're talking when we do our, Olympic break episode where we kind of recap the rest of the season, I can go more in depth on Power. Tonight wasn't the greatest game we've seen from him. There's that play where Gord
went inside out on him.
Power I understood what he was trying to do, use his body to shield the puck, but when you take one hand off the stick, it makes you more vulnerable. Like I said, I didn't like him and Samuelsson on that Bjorkstrand power play goal either. But for the most part, Power is a player where I think his board play and defensive game is improving. Still needs to be better at the net front. That penalty kill is a big reason why. But playing better. I think problem with Power is people are going to criticize him no matter what. And the people who like him are going to defend him no matter what. And I think there's a solid middle ground there, but he's definitely trending up in my opinion.
Benson, obviously, that was a concerning injury the other night when he kind of fell into the boards there, kind of got taken down, no penalty on the play, and then he fell awkwardly in the boards. Didn't play tonight, obviously, but it looks like Norris is going to be working his way back, luckily. I don't know if he's going to play in Pittsburgh or not, but the Benson injury looked bad, but hopefully it's just a short-term thing. But when he first fell into the boards, I just went, man, that's it's going to be a big loss.
Yeah, the fact that he tried to come out and play another shift, I'm going to assume is a positive. But Lindy did say, they travel home for their last game before the break. They did say Benson's going to be reevaluated once they're back home. Would assume he's just done until the break, because I kind of just think with one game left, most teams are like, all right, let's just get to the break and regroup. Like I said, when we do our recap episode, we can talk about the health of the Sabres, because it looks like it's trending in the right direction. Would be shocked if Norris and Benson both play before the break, but I know Norris is pushing to play, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and do you have any quick thoughts on Luukkonen? Obviously, he's going to be out for the Olympics with Team Finland. Obviously, a big blow for him, wanting to represent his country. Got injured in that game against Toronto last week, and the Sabres 3 goalie rotations worked out because one of them sort of been injured all the way through. I know it's still not ideal, and it's not something you want to have going forward, but with what Ellis and Lyon have given you right now, and when Luukkonen was in there, he was playing well as well. So any quick thoughts on him going to be out till after the Olympic break?
Yeah, it's a tough blow, right? I don't know how much he was going to play in the Olympics, but to, not be able to represent your country when It's been so long since NHL players have been able to. It's a killer. You feel bad for the guy, but long term, with the way he was playing before the injury, hopefully this break is what he needed and he can come back and be healthy, because I think most of us will agree a Luukkonen line tandem is the best thing for the Sabres going forward. So getting Luukkonen back to full health, more important. But yes, obviously personally it does suck for Luukkonen. That would have been a big moment for him.
Well, it's after 11 p.m. Eastern time local for us here, so I know you gotta get going to bed soon. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but any final thoughts here, wrapping up this game against Tampa and then looking ahead to Pittsburgh on Thursday? I would say a pretty successful back-to-back trip to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have said you'd come away 1-0-1 from a back-to-back with Florida and Tampa on consecutive nights, I think most of us sign up for it. Like I said, it's unfortunate this game played out the way it played out at the end. But in the grand scheme of things, getting 3 points from that Florida trip is a big win for Buffalo.
Absolutely. Well, Austin, appreciate you staying up. Look forward to having Jan to talk more in depth about sort of the stretch that the Sabres are on right now. But look forward to doing more of this post-game reaction stuff as well going forward in the second half of the year. Really look forward to it. And, hopefully you can join us more often as well.
Yeah, I'll try to join you as often as I can.
Awesome. So that's going to wrap it up for this special episode of Sabres Semantics, our post-game recap episode right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Thank you to everybody that tuned in on our YouTube live, and as well those who listen the next day in your favorite on-demand audio platform. As always, Sabres Semantics is proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family, and there are 3 great Niagara region locations in Niagara Falls, Fawn Hill, and Scott Street in St. Catharines. The Sabres fall 4-3 in overtime to the Tampa Bay Lightning, earn a point and earn 3 of 4 points here on the Florida road trip. They'll play one more game before hitting the Olympic break, currently sitting 3rd place in the NHL's Atlantic Division. For Austin Broad, my name is Brandon Caputo. Have yourself a great night, and we'll talk to you again very soon.